Welcome to the CrossFit Canada podcast, the place for Canadian affiliate owners and coaches to share their stories. And I'm excited for today's story because we have Ron Rost, or Rooster as he likes to go by, from Superior CrossFit, which I'll let you say where it is. But Ron, Rooster, how we kick things off is even though I just did, you're going to introduce yourself, your affiliate, let us know where your affiliate is, and then I try to do question of the day. We'll do this is, do you have a CrossFit Games year that stands out to you as a favorite? We'll make that your question of the day as well from there. So I always tell people, start with the easy stuff first, name, location, all that, and then we get into the nitty gritty from there.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. My name is Ron Rost, more affectionately known as Rooster. My affiliate is Superior CrossFit, and we're located in Thunder Bay, Ontario, up in the Great White North.
Yeah, the true north.
Yeah. Not to be confused with North Bay. We're quite a ways north of that.
I was thinking about that the other day, actually, when I was looking. I was like, for you guys to be considered like Northern Ontario, when you compare like how much more of Ontario there is, as well as Canada, it's like, I think Southern Ontario is just way more south. Everywhere else is just in line with each other.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. As a geographical description, I guess that's true. Yeah.
So, and then the question was, as someone who's been around, I mean, that's what we'll talk about. But like I said, being on your profile on the affiliate website is, you guys have been around for a while. So do you have a CrossFit Games year that stands out to you as a favorite or a standout?
I don't know if I have one particular. I always like to see an athlete that's a repeat champion, Fraser, Froning, Tia, something like that, where they are able to, like any sport, is it a dynasty where the Montreal Canadiens can win, 3 Stanley Cups in a row, for instance. So those particular athletes that maybe strung a couple championships together, that second or third year is probably what I would consider memorable.
Nice. Love it. So how long, because we didn't say, when did Superior CrossFit affiliate? How long have you guys been around for?
So as of this January 4th, 2026, we're in our 16th year of affiliation. Wow. 16 Amazing. Years. Yeah.
So 2010, what was Rooster doing before? What was Rooster doing January 1st, 2010? No, I'm sure you discovered CrossFit long before then, or maybe not. But that is one thing I always like to hear. So, do you remember your first CrossFit workout? Where were you? What were you doing? What was going on in your life then?
Yeah, well, I had a full-time construction job at the time. I was a manager for a local roofing company, and we branched out into building homes and many other aspects in the construction. And so then I was, coaching 5 and 6 a.m., running off to work, running back at noon, working out, and then sometimes back in the evening, or try and catch up a bit on the evenings from starting at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And I basically started in my own house, and I got thrown out of a couple global gyms for dropping weights and using chalk and things like that. And so that wasn't going to work, and just, started at home in a little shed type garage outside, and then branched into, where I'm located now.
Wow. It sounds you were doing CrossFit in a global gym. What was your first exposure to CrossFit? How did you first find it?
Well, I was a hockey trainer. Okay. And one of my former players and his cousin were sort of my partners, or with the initial Superior CrossFit before I came in, just shortly after they started.
Okay.
Yeah. So they initiated it. They got the building and got things underway, and then I kind of slid in from there.
Gotcha. Okay. But sorry, not from an affiliate perspective, from you, your first ever CrossFit workout is what I'm curious about. When did you first start doing CrossFit, the workout?
Oh, probably if I'm 16-year affiliate, that's 2010, probably 2009 somewhere, something like that. Just started,
Okay.
like everybody, just the online platform, following Coach Glassman's daily post.
So you were a main site guy in the forum and comments and scale as needed type deal.
Right.
Um, and then so as you said, you were a hockey trainer, had some partners who got things up and running, and then you were doing the
Yeah.
balance of working this construction job as a manager and then trying to fill in the gaps in between there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'd lead pretty long days for the most part. Our first class is 5 a.m. I like to be there by 4:30, doors open. So, it made for some very long days for sure.
I feel like then anyone would go through that kind of choice of like when kind of passion and excitement burns out, it's like, you know what, I could go back to construction, but you clearly chose the other route. What do you think compelled you to that decision now that you can look back with a little more age and wisdom?
Well, it's a two-part. One was the person that I worked for had pretty much had enough of me doing both,
Okay.
and maybe forced me to make a choice sooner in life than I was maybe ready to.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit older than I was. I was close to maybe not retiring, but working less at the
Right.
construction job, and he kind of forced my hand through, better or worse, and that's here we are today, X amount of years later. Oh, probably 12 years later, that I had to make that choice. I didn't really have a choice. It's one that was sort of made for me, and that I decided to make. Yeah.
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 And that's interesting, like because I think many coaches or affiliate owners do try to do both, maybe for too long, and right, and I see you just shaking your head immediately. Like, so are you like, again, having the retrospect that you do now, was being forced into that decision? Like, is it something you're like, man, I should have done this 2 years sooner?
Well, from a financial standpoint, a couple years earlier, I probably wasn't stable enough financially.
Sure.
Once I was kind of ushered out the door and some other things, it made it financially easier to make the transition at that point in my life. So that definitely had an impact of when I was able to actually transition over.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So you're saying you were in a lot better spot, as you said, not quite at retirement age, but like not needing to work as much. And so
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I have a lot less, I have a lot less skin in the game now, so to speak, where I'm able to transition a little more smoothly.
Yeah, and I realized when I transitioned that I could make, I could make a living as a coach slash owner, but I was definitely not going to get rich and have this pot of gold at the end of the rainbow to retire with, because that's in Thunder Bay. That's not happening. There's just no way.
Do you recall those early days of um, when you were then like just doing just that, focused your attention on superior, like what it was like to not have to bounce back and forth between the two things?
Well, you became more focused because then I was, basically worried about committed to one thing. I wasn't running around from 4 a.m. till 6 p.m. like a chicken with my head cut off, going from job site to job site, poking in at the gym, job site, back to the office, back to the gym. So, being able to focus on one aspect really helped.
Did you notice then a change in like, did membership increase? Because like anything, right, it's not something that I feel like is unique to the CrossFit business, but like anything is like,
Yeah.
when you focus your attention,
Yeah.
that's when the returns are going to come. And so is that something you noticed?
Yes and no. Like we have a good base of members. I've got some members, honestly, that've been with me all 16 years,
Yeah.
which is a major, there might be, I could probably name 12 of them that have been there right from the beginning, which I feel is amazing to be loyal, not only me loyal to them, but them loyal to me for that length of time. And so when you're able to focus a little more strictly on one aspect, I definitely think it helps maybe create that loyalty where no, I don't know, I need these people and they need me. So it kind of was a contractual obligation that just seemed to fit for us, right?
Hmm.
One thing I kind of sell is that I knew I never was going to get rich from being a CrossFit affiliate. It was the goal was always to help people and just hope for the best financially that we could keep enough members, keep active, pay the bills, and if I didn't make anything above and beyond paying the bills and paying my coaches, I'd pretty much satisfied with that.
Yeah.
I guess the return might come if at some point, well, there will be a point when I rather decide to sell. When I sell, then I'll get, some return on my equipment and my member list. But, you know, barring selling it, if one day I just close the doors, then there'll be no real, huge financial return from all the years.
Right. Yeah.
And that's fine. And I can live with that. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, and I feel like I wonder if that's part of the secret to like your longevity and especially like being up in Northern Ontario, like a little more isolated, but just saying like, it's I don't need anything from this other than for it to like maybe satisfy your want to help and do the right thing for the right people that are in front of you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's, and then you can go back a few years and see like the struggles that we all had through COVID. And if you were lucky enough to make it through COVID and still had the doors open, then, the focus shifted back maybe to be from where it was before COVID. And we, took a couple years to get financially solid again and then running again. So I feel like there was a brief period there where we, like all of us suffered together. And now I feel like comfortable, like for the last 3 years seem like pre-COVID where everything is good again.
Hmm.
If that makes sense. Like it's sort of like two eras there with a sort of spot in between that was very questionable for everyone.
Well, 100%. Yeah. Like, back when and before, I would say anywhere from like 2015 to 2018, like you had CrossFit on the door and people came in to check it out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then anything after COVID, there was this hesitation, I think, just because people were just nervous to go to gyms entirely. And then now all of a
Yeah.
sudden that uptick of like, hey, can I come check out a class has returned again.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Like there's still that, and we see it in the CrossFit memes, and I got to get in shape before I can do CrossFit, and I'm not strong enough, or I'm not, my cardio is not good enough. And we still, and we do battle that locally lots.
Yeah.
I tell we always have, any class, bring a friend. And lots of people say, oh, my friend wants to come, but they don't think they're in good enough shape or they're not ready yet. So, you're still battling that aspect of it. But I think yeah, it's returned to that point where, yeah. And today is a perfect example. I had a young man walk in, hey, I want to try this. What's it all about? And, we get a lot of text messages or emails to our site, but, this guy stopped in. He's like, yeah, I want to give this a go. When's your on ramp or foundations and how do I go forward? So I definitely feel those days have returned where people have piqued interest again. And we're starting to get more of the average person wanting to at least try it.
Yeah. So one thing that interests me is you bring that up, like, as you say, like a younger guy, or at least younger than you. But as you said earlier, like, you were 4 years into affiliate ownership and approaching retirement age. So how does how does being a more experienced person in age affect like when new people come in and inquire about CrossFit and they're like, oh, a gentleman in his late 50s can still easily do it, or you're like, hey, I do it, does that change their perspective, or does it break down walls or anything?
I like to think so. I personally am a big proponent of leading by example,
Sure.
eating my own breakfast. I do my classes. Sometimes if it's a small class, I jump in with the class I'm coaching. I know everyone has different opinions about that, but like today, I coached the morning. I went back. I had another coach at 11. I participated in the 11 o'clock class. Uh, I truly believe I've been in the open every year. I truly believe in leading by example, jumping in. I don't cherry pick. I don't go off our programming. I don't do my own stuff. I do what every single member is doing. And I think that does help lots. And I also like to sell, if that's the right word, longevity for life, right? So
Yeah.
if I've been doing this now for 17, 18 years at my age, yeah, I've had some injuries for sure, like all of us. But I still think it's a commitment to being active lifelong. And I do some high school teaching and a CrossFit class at some high schools, and sometimes they come to the gym depending on time and availability. And it's tougher to relate to those kids, grade 11 and 12. They're so young.
Yeah.
They're just grip it and rip it. They're not concerned about, can I squat on the toilet when I'm 70 years old, or the old deadlift the grocery bags, put them in the car. Hard to relate to that, but sort of in a nutshell, without dragging it out too long when I'm talking to them, that's what I'm selling, like just like longevity. Just be active. Don't necessarily, put all your eggs in one basket. If CrossFit is it, hey, we're here for you. But if it's not, then just be active. I went around for a while that other gyms aren't my competition. The couch is the competition, right? Like,
Yeah.
get up, get out, do something. Are you a CrossFitter? Are you going to do high rocks? Are you going to a global gym? Get out and move, especially as you age.
Well, and that's like, and I think about not just yourself, like there is there is the thing where sometimes where motivation is lacking. You're like, well, I'm the leader of this ship. I gotta drink my own Kool-Aid. But as you said, you have a dozen or more people who have been doing CrossFit for 16 straight years. Like
Yeah.
that in and of itself is always the proof, right? Like I think
Right.
sometimes we try to overthink the marketing or whatnot, or the having
Yeah.
the perfect thing. It's like, what do we do to keep these people in the door for 16 years like you did?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got to believe in the mythology, right? Otherwise, you're sunk right from the get go. So if you can sell that, constantly varied, high intensity functional fitness, and just be there with your members, I think that they see you. I call it, I'm down in the trenches with it. They see that and they respect that. So I truly believe that goes a long way, as to oppose. Yeah, you see some coaches, owners off on a different program from what their members are doing or whatever, for their own reasons. And I just think you got to be right there with your members.
Hmm. Well, and as someone who, as you said, does the open and does classes and clearly like believes in the methodology, like did you have a, I don't want to say a defining moment, like it needs to be something profound, but have you had a, like where you feel like yourself constantly coming back to the center again of like CrossFit, the methodology, what's in the L1 guide, things like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so every time you have to renew, you do your renewal, whether it's another L1 or another L2, so you can appreciate how many L1s and L2s I I never I don't have a university degree, and I truly have often stated that L3 scares me just from being where I am and the amount of maybe things that I might not be able to have a grasp on. So I'm on my third L2
Okay.
and and probably my last in-person L2. So I mean, every time you go to be with other owners and other coaches, that's a great remotivation, another factor that really seems to lift your spirits. And when I'd love to go to all of these things that are available, but at what expense? It's hard for me to get into a conference. Sure, like these podcasts and that, they're ideal, but
Sure.
to travel would put it wouldn't be fair to my business. So, whenever I have to travel or I get to travel, that's where I sort of get that renewed vigor when you're around other coaches or other owners.
Jumping back, like, because you're a northern guy, when and where did you do your level one? I know it feels like we're jumping all over, but it's like I am curious. Is like, did they come to you or did you go somewhere?
No, actually, I went CrossFit Coliseum.
Okay.
So here I am.
At least as an Ontario guy, the rite of passage is you have to do your level one at CrossFit Coliseum, right?
Yeah, it was just once again I was involved as a hockey trainer for
Okay.
our varsity hockey team up here at Lakehead University, and I was the trainer. So I'm traveling with the team every second week, 1 week at home, 1 week there, and it I was preparing for it, had it in my mind I had to do it, and it just fell in line at CrossFit Coliseum with a porter flight with the hockey team and staying down and doing my L1 at CrossFit Coliseum, and then just one of the other guys there gave me a ride to the airport down to Porter at the time, and home Saturday, Sunday, and then home type of thing. So yeah.
So it's the Wolves, right? Timberwolves,
Yeah,
Lakehead Wolves,
Thunderwolves, Lakehead Thunderwolves, yeah.
Thunderwolves. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So you were a trainer with them. They were playing somewhere in the city, and you just happened to be able to like coordinate, like do both, or
Yeah, it just happened that way. I don't even know where we playing. Toronto Varsity Blues, I think was their name at the time. I think it was
Yeah.
something like that where, we were playing Toronto, and I just the days were mine. They were free. I had to be at the rink by 5 o'clock or something and have the team ready and everything like that. But I think it was down Friday, CrossFit Coliseum Saturday night at the rink. Team flew home Sunday. I stayed on a separate flight and just caught a ride, like I said, with one of the other participants
Yeah.
at the L1 and back home to Thunder Bay.
In sitting in on, I mean, that's I because I feel like nowadays when folks do their L1s, they're pretty much already immersed in CrossFit in some version of it. I think
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I guess when I think of my level one, which was at Coliseum as well, there was a bunch of people who this was their first dose of CrossFit, and I guess what I'm getting at, because I know you had said you'd done main site, but there was a lady in the crowd who was a sprinting coach. She was a track coach and did sprinting. So
Yeah.
my question is do you recall, like, so you're a trainer for a hockey team, but now you spend this whole day being immersed in CrossFit, like were your wheels just turning the either like at the game or the next morning
Yeah.
and the flight home,
Yeah, it was a lot to take in. I will be guilty of my previous, like if you ask my wife, my previous before I got like drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a person that's when I do something, I go all in. So, previous to that, drinking the Kool-Aid, I was a triathlete, and I had done Hawaiian Ironman a couple times.
Okay.
And so I might have been slightly skewed or tainted where although I was doing CrossFit and I had bought into the mythology, I still thought I tried to think outside the box, and that kind of was not productive. I
Mm,
was trying to think maybe crossover between some of my other endurance sports and CrossFit, and I really got kind of messed up, so to speak, where I had to just forget about being a runner, being a swimmer, being a cyclist, or whatever other sport, and then just focus 100% on CrossFit and on that mythology, and
mhm.
don't try. Well, it was impossible to try and convince the red shirt at the time, like, oh, I did the Ironman, we should be doing this and that. And they're like, no, don't think that way. Just stick to the mythology. Don't try and think outside our box, so to speak. So the kind of there was a lot going on that first day, and with everything going on, hockey and all of that, it was definitely a challenge.
And that's like I've hosted a couple of level ones, and you always have like someone who comes from a powerlifting background,
Yeah,
or they a more sport specific style, and rightfully so. I think one thing that's always, what actually, of course, we're biased, but what has made the level 1 and 2 weekends so great is anyone is willing to put their hand up and like, hey, like let's discuss this stuff, right? But it's always like, that's great for, that might be a little bit more powerlifting, and we're not saying that that's wrong. It's just, this is
just
the way we do it in CrossFit,
yeah,
and it sounds like you had that same kind of experience. It's like, hey, that it sounds like that works well for endurance, but we're not saying endurance might be a part of a CrossFit fitness
yeah,
program, but it's not
yeah.
the thing that it is.
Yeah, and that's a great example. Like if you take the Ironman, that's the Ironman World Championships. You take CrossFit, world's fittest. So I think I conflicted with, well, at the time, and showing my age here again, Dave Scott and Mark Allen, like they were the kings of of Hawaii. And I was like in awe of these guys. Like I actually met them when I was there. And like,
Yeah.
I hadn't met Froning or anybody else. So I related to these guys as like the fittest person on earth, but that was strictly an endurance standpoint. And, when I brought that up at all one, they're like, no, those guys are, they probably can't back squat their body weight, or they can't double deadlift their body weight. So they're not, a total circumference of all aspects of,
Yeah.
of being fit. And then, I struggled with that and I learned the hard way, but, that was my sort of, opinion going in.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I think what's cool about it though, and then like especially then you look at like the definition of fitness, it's like, okay, you kind of start to over time reconcile. It's like, oh, fitness like now has maybe more buckets in it than I think. It's like there
Yeah.
are endurance and extreme endurance, just like there's extreme strength guys. You look at people who can,
Yeah.
deadlift 1,000 pounds. They most certainly can't do it an
Yeah.
Ironman, right?
Yeah,
And then
exactly. Yeah.
finding that middle ground for you at that age too, it seems like it's allowed you to like continue your training and stay
Y-
active over a longer period of time potentially.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. You got that good variation of and obviously as you age, that strength component becomes such an asset for bone density and everything that goes with it. And then like I say, just being active and working in those three components, and whatever else, if you go swimming or hiking, just makes all those other, play new sports, just makes it that much easier, right?
Hmm. But then it's cool. Like what I love hearing about that is like you've had, that's kind of the pivotal moment I think I was thinking of when I asked you earlier, like because now it sounds like potentially your secret to success of like longevity in CrossFit as an affiliate owner, as a coach and an athlete, is like just staying true to like what CrossFit is and not trying to
Yeah.
make it something else, or seek out some version of like novelty to like, again, 16 years of affiliate ownership this January, like, oh, we should change the program to
Yeah.
spice it up. It's like, no, what got us here 16 years is what's going to get us 16 more, right?
Yeah, that's so true. And we don't get a lot of visitors because where we are, but we got some guys that are in town for business, and they come in and you go, oh man, you guys are like OG here. You're old school. Like I love the vibe here. And I think that's a compliment. And when I try to recruit another coach, or up and have coaches meetings, and like, hey, just be true to the members. I think the key is don't try and reinvent the wheel, right? The
Yeah.
the wheel is there. That wheel is turning. Let's keep the wheel turning. Let's keep the bus on the tracks, and let's just keep going forward the way we're doing now. Saying that, you hear Jim's, okay, let's try, like we tried a mobility class. And the mobility class, when I'm certified in mobility, that worked for a couple years. And then and then, okay, let's get an Olympic lifting class. So I take the Olympic lifting course, and then I'm actually CCA certified Olympic lifting coach and technical official. So, yeah, let's try that. But I
Yeah.
think if you just stay true to what works, and don't try and invent new things that you think might work, because I think it's still a growing pain where, should I be doing more for my members? And after all these years, I truly believe, just stick to what works. Stick to your classes, stick to your schedule. We usually have a couple fun events a year, but we don't, I've learned now just to try and not introduce new things, but people still only have so many hours in a day, and you can't expect them to maybe come at 5 a.m. and then come back at 6:30 at night for something else. It's too difficult. It's too
Yeah.
much.
Or I feel like members, like when you dangle something new in front of them, of course they're going to like grab at it. But then over the course of a little bit of time, they start to not lose interest, but you know what I mean? Like the shininess is
Yeah,
worn off. And then they
yeah,
just find themselves going back to back to the thing that works.
yeah. Like we've, add another class, add this, add that, and yeah, the tenure is short-lived, 6 months, and like you
Yeah.
say, the novelty's worn off. And let's stick to the basics that have got us here, and that are actually working and keep us here, and don't try and snowball something it's not gonna hold their attention, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, if anyone's a newer affiliate owner hearing this, like it's not, I think it would be safe to say, like, it's not a don't do it. It's just, if you do it and you notice that it's stopped working, or interest
yeah,
is starting to dwindle, don't don't consider it to be like a failure and dwell on it. Just move on, right? Like go back
yeah,
to, it's like, hey, what works? Oh, all of a sudden, yeah,
yeah,
CrossFit keeps working. Let's just go
yeah,
back to that and keep moving forward.
yeah. Like, and the thing, don't take it personal, right? Like
Right.
I can get like, oh man, I'm the mobility coach. We're gonna do mobility 6:30 Tuesday nights, and 6 people come out. We go about a month, and then it's 4 people, and it's three, and it's the same three, and then economically it sort of becomes unfeasible to pay a coach. Yeah, don't take it personally. Go back to what got you to where you are, and stick to the basics. Have good coaches, run a good program, and stick to that.
Well, and that gets me thinking about something, because before we hit record offline, you were just saying like you handle most of the mornings, and then you let your coaches coach the evening. And for you saying like money is clearly not a motivator to you, how much is time a motivator to you now, in the sense of like being able to hold your time? Because is that a decision making factor? It's like, oh yeah, I could do this in the evening, but then my evenings are gone twice or three times a week.
Well, that's it exactly. And plus, how much positive energy do you have? So I get up at 4, I open the doors at 4:30, I do 5 and 6, I come home, I hang out. My wife's retired, we have a coffee. I go back. Someday I usually go back and work out with the 11 o'clock class if I'm not coaching it. So
Yeah.
my day might look like 5 and 6 and 11 and 12. Well, I can tell you, if I do have to go back for 4:30, 5:30, it's very rare, very, very rare. But like, I don't know how effective I am after at that time of day. I could be a little short on a good day. So that I think that's too much, and I think I'm doing a disservice to my members when that happens.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And so, like, to you, as you were saying, like if someone tried to launch like a mobility program and there's three people, it's like, yeah, you want to serve the people that are in front of you, and it's I don't mean this way it sounds, but it's like it can take if you are doing early mornings like that, it can take a lot out of you to just and to keep showing up for these three people in the evening when you were there in the
Yeah.
morning, when it's not their fault, maybe it's the program's fault, or you know.
Yeah, I think and I see I'm on like we all are on these Facebook groups where owners and they're kind of venting in that. And I mean, you only have so much energy as an owner because what you see on the floor is about half of what I do, right?
Right,
And
100%.
you know that
Yeah.
you're dealing with Revenue Canada, you're dealing with programming, you're keeping your website up, you're posting your WODs, you're creating the whiteboard, like like we do. I vacuum and mop the gym. My wife cleans the bathrooms and the front entrance. So what you see on the floor is not even 50% of what transpires in my daily or weekly routine. Like, how many hats do you wear, right? How many, you know it yourself, how many hats are you wearing? Are
Yeah.
you are you lucky enough where you may be able to trade off a membership for someone to clean? And then, I'm type A. I like my gym clean. I like, if I got to get down on the floor and do push-ups and burpees, I don't want a hair a hair in my mouth. Or we vacuum a couple times a week, we mop, we clean the bathrooms, everything is, I get nothing but compliments every time a visitor comes. And man, how do you keep this place so clean? And it's old school and it's so cool here. You must work hard at it, and we do. Like, my wife and
Yeah,
I we work hard at maintaining our rowers, our bikes, just the day-to-day cleaning of the whole operation. I got 4,000 square feet, so
well,
you
yeah,
start vacuuming and mopping and 12 rowers, you take them apart and oil them, and not monthly. Like, it takes time. And if you're coaching, you're on the floor 2 or 4 hours a day. That's generally half of what's really going on as an owner.
for sure. Yeah, and exactly, like I think the beauty of the affiliate model, and we all get to be different and run things.
Yeah.
And now, I think of probably like when you first started as an affiliate owner, there wasn't as much, not just from CrossFit but just in general, online resources available. And so it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you should be cleaning, oh, you should get someone else to clean, or blah blah blah. It doesn't matter, right? There's not a right or wrong. It's just what you get to do. And you guys,
Yeah.
you and your wife, it's something you like to do, it sounds like. I guess the only flaw is if someone is going to do their own cleaning is if they're coaching 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 4:30, 5:30, 6:30 p.m., and then mopping at 8 p.m. every night. Like,
Yeah.
that's maybe where you would probably start looking at farming it out. But if you have
Yeah.
the time to do it, you get to do it when you want, I guess.
Yeah. We set aside, right now we're doing Wednesday afternoon. We get in there after the noon class ends at 1, give them 10 minutes to clean up, shower, whatever. And we
Right.
kind of hit it pretty hard there. And couple hours, then, and then on Sunday we only run open gym. So then we do it again on Sundays. So, there's not much downtime. You're kind of, whether you're on the floor, you're involved in some way a lot more than what you see on the floor.
Hmm. Yeah, I always think exactly like, just because it looks like, or if someone thinks nothing's happening or things are running too smoothly like that, it doesn't mean that the owner or whoever's in charge isn't doing nothing. It's because they've done so much
So much. Yeah.
that it
Yeah.
that it ends up running smoothly like that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's a method and there's a reason it is the way it is. And a lot of it is behind the scenes that people don't see. And that's what, you know, That's what makes it good or makes it effective. It's being responsible to everything that's not just coaching.
Yeah, and just and vice versa, right? You can't put all your hats in the or all your stuff in the coaching bucket. You
Yeah,
can't put it all in the facilities bucket. Like you have to. That is the balance of like finding the balance between the two things.
yeah,
Like fitness, it's like endurance or strength. Like no, you need to have both. Well, like and then
yeah,
we still have, as you said, administrative, answer leads, answer texts, all that stuff.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's you know what it's like. You got payroll and your tax remissions, and you're dealing with the bank and the government and the employees, and that's it's all part of being a small business owner in Canada. There's so much that the average consumer doesn't see, and I think if you're brick and mortar, then people see, but if you're online, people have they just don't understand the amount of work that goes into being a small business owner, a gym owner.
Hmm. So as you as you're in just hit month 5 of year 16, what is what do the next few years look like for you?
Well, the building we're in has been just an absolute gem for CrossFit. It is like it's an
And you
old
said it's
ware.
the first this was your first location? Like you guys have been in the
Yeah,
same spot the whole time. Cool.
yeah. And my landlord has been amazing, and he was a friend, and I actually was his trainer. He played hockey,
Okay.
and the building, you couldn't ask for a better building. It's an old warehouse, and we got a garage door, and you can drop a bomb in there and you're not going to break anything. People love that aspect. And it's been good and good and good. And then we just got hit, first off with the affiliation fee increase. That was tough. And then I just got hit with a big rent increase, which it's still probably, if I told you my rent, you'd probably laugh compared to what you
Sure.
down you pay down south. But then your rates and our rates reflect each other as to maintaining financially. And I've given it. I signed a 3-year lease, so I'm giving. I said to my wife, I will give it that, and then I'd like to make an exit plan. Here we are, 5 months into 2026. I signed the lease January 1, so
Sure.
I've got three basically 2.5, 3 more years that I've committed to. And how do I get an exit strategy where my goal would be to sell it so that maybe a group of members, or somebody comes in behind me and buys it. It would, truthfully, it'd break my heart after 18 or 19 years for
Maybe
it to
19
just,
years by then, yeah.
you know, close sell the equipment to first come, first serve and close the doors. Would be a sad day for me personally, but inevitably that might happen. So like you say, 5 months in, I'm starting to look ahead. I'm trying to make a life plan, a business plan, and involves an exit strategy on a positive note, I hope.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting about that is how many affiliate owners don't want to face the fact that at some version there is an end, whatever it looks like. There is an
Yeah,
end to the ride at some point,
yeah,
and then now you've almost, not in a bad way, but created this kind of like you gave yourself a time cap. If we keep it with CrossFit, like you have a 3-year time cap or a 3-year AMRAP to try to get this thing
yeah,
to have a plan.
yeah. And it involves, I hope it involves some of my current coaches. I got some great, I call them kids, but
Yeah.
yeah, compared, they could be my kids, but they're good people, and I think that they do good stuff. They do good things for me. They represent my gym and my ideology and the mythology well, and I hope I can convince a couple of them that this is a great avenue for you to pursue, and I would work with you, if it's something you think that you'd like to do, like be a gym owner. And that's what I really hope. And I guess we'll see.
And as you said, you were coming up with, a plan or whatnot. Has there anything you've learned in this short period of time, that like a new perspective that it's offered, that, like, I guess what I mean is someone maybe listening to this could be on their fifth year and still have another 10 years to go. It's like you're learning this and you're technically last 3 years. Has anything like that come up?
No, not really. I think it's just more of an age and a time commitment thing where it's at my age, it's time to, maybe step back and a less time commitment. And I don't, even now, I don't feel I need to be on the floor for 20 hours a week. I don't like it. I don't think it's fair to my members. I've got 8 or 9 coaches depending, and I like using them all. And
Yeah,
if there's 2 days a week I'm not on the floor at all, that doesn't bother me.
right.
I put my trust in these coaches, and I tell them, you run it the way you were taught at L1 to run it. You do what you see is going to give my members the best hour of their day, and I'm entrusting in you. So I guess it's just going to play itself out somehow. I don't know if I have a 100% written down plan as yet.
All we'll have to do is wait and see, and do the follow-up interview in 20,
Yeah,
2029, and just
yeah,
see where you're at from there.
yeah. I could just see, some of these groups that you see in owners become frustrated, and their time management, they're overwhelmed, and they've got, I'm lucky. My wife and I were, retired. My kids are growing. I
Yeah.
have the time, but, I can't even imagine, an owner that might have a couple of kids, and those kids might be in sports, and, an active family, along with maybe a job and running a gym. It's the time constraints, or the time. It's just, incredible. I could tell you it's incredible.
Well, as you said, like, that's something that in my short time, I mean, short 7 years as an affiliate owner, like, there was a time where I did it all, and I
Yeah.
got the Kelly Starrett. You mentioned mobility. I got the Kelly
Yeah.
Starrett movement and mobility certificate or
Yeah.
certification. I'm like, I'm going to offer mobility programs and yada yada yada, and it's like I I see others on, like, we use Push Press, and they have a Facebook group that
Yeah.
people talk in, and, like, man, I have not, me personally, I have not had more fun than what I'm having now, when
Yeah.
that's just coaching a few classes, letting the coaches excel at what they're doing, and just attending class, and, like, not feeling the pressure to do more. It's like the flex isn't how much you do at your gym anymore. It's how much you get out of it from a fulfillment side, and how
Right.
much time
Yeah.
it can give you back.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Just, keep your head above water and stay positive, and, reach out to other people, and hopefully you've got good support staff, or, surround yourself, like any good team, surround yourself with good people. And that, maybe creates an environment where it's not really a burden, right? You can't think of it as a
Yeah.
burden or a job. It's not that I have to get up at 4:30 to coach. I'm lucky that I'm able to get up at 4:30 and coach.
Hmm.
So, kind of, hopefully that those things work for someone that's just starting, or 5 or 7 years in, and, still young enough to consider a long future in it, hopefully.
Yeah, hit that miraculous 10 and 15, and now 16-year mark, and it's
Yeah.
really is a commitment to the methodology of CrossFit, as well as the people that you serve, and those people who've been with you since day one, which is awesome. And I think on that note, 3, 2, 1, time.